From Huntress to Headless, we finally got an HW's backstory just to watch her get nerfed by trying to save her boyfriend, or partner, or whatever the hell they are. Like, long story short, she angered a Bloodborne boss, and all of her peers are packing. Like, this man is a druid, but he just has TNT knives on him just because. Which is almost as wild as Finn talking about how he's gonna die, but one piece of mental damage at a time. We have a full episode to discuss and break down.
Hey kids, wanna see a dead body?
Now, we have always known nothing about Huntress Wizard. She's been the consistent hot enigma of the Adventure Time world. We've only ever had vague details about her life, the general idea that she was previously apprenticed in some manner to a spirit dream warrior, which is a name that I had to fully look up, and led me to the shocking realization that this fucker is voiced by Matthew Broderick. The characters were together for a time, then she dipped to pursue power and depression in Wizard City. Everything besides that Wikipedia-ass summary was unknown to us, with this episode deciding that now is the perfect time to reveal her backstory, as in true anime fashion, this is where she dies. Now, to be sincere, I did actually adore the backstory they've been giving HW. The shift in art style was great, giving a simple but hand-drawn approach that evokes this idea of memory, a time when things were less complicated and idealized. Her kid self is adorable, and this is all just perfect for luring us into a false sense of security before she cuts her fucking hand off.
You didn't even blink.
We've always known that HW has been locked in. In fact, for her, relaxing is what's actually difficult. But we see here that she's basically been on this warrior grind since probably her parents' death. Do I know that they're dead? No, but given how she is a child in the woods being raised by a hippie with nothing to eat but pine cones, I'd say her orphan status is a pretty safe bet. We witness her violating every CPS rule in the book, if Ooh had any of that shit. HW is going through a Samurai Jack style training montage of beating a rock with a reed, doing other stuff like hanging from a tree till she masters the art of being a tarot card reference. With all this actually showing off the singular focus that ends up taking her so far in life, which I think is part of the real point of this montage. HW, as she's been described by her master years later, is a predator. As like a predator who goes after other animals, they kind of get tunnel vision. They focus on what's in front of them with their peripherals being not so good, meaning when she wants to pursue something, she loses sight of everything else. The context in which this trait is revealed does kind of focus on the downside of this level of focus, but here, we see how far it actually got her in life, that despite just being a child, she is capable of accomplishing incredible feats. Performing the same monotonous tasks every day, subsisting on what is best described as a starvation diet, practicing the same moves over and over and over and over again, weaving grass together for months, if not years, probably just because it all ends up culminating her being able to shatter a boulder with just a stick. Most characters in the land of Ooh wouldn't be able to do this. Hell, even Finn couldn't, on account of Yeah, I'm not sure he could be that dedicated to this grind, but HW can, as she sees what she wants and pursues it. The mental and physical toll be damned, it's all just part of the process to get what she wants. Hence, when she finally makes it to the final stage of her training, and she's told she has to sacrifice a part of herself, this child doesn't take an ear, she doesn't take a nose, she just cuts off her fucking hand without even blinking. So if you want proof of her commitment, her mental tenacity, and just her absolute refusal to consider the consequences of her actions, and we also see her ability to tell her elders to fuck off.
You're one of us now.
No, I'm on my own.
Yeah, she really did all that bullshit just to gain magical power, then immediately ditched everyone. She was supposed to become part of the Green Wizards, and she saw that crew and decided, no, I'm going to just become a loner. Though to be fair, these wizards do kind of feel like a cult, especially the whole cut off your hand, feed it to the heart of the wild, and just gain magical powers and a face mask. Now, while this is incredibly funny to watch to see that she has just always been like this, what we do know about Huntress Wizard's obsession with being strong and seeing isolation as the ideal alpha wizard means of maintaining it, her deciding to just ditch everyone does make a lot of sense. As she's got the powers, now she just needs to keep fighting, keep training, and just keep doing it all by herself to achieve even greater heights. Cue going to Wizard City, battling other wizards to kiss lips she probably doesn't care about, with her basically continuing on like this till she had her mid for her life crisis, wanting to see her master again, then ending up locking lips with Finn, who would go on to become her on and off again companion, which is the polite word for it. Which the beautiful thing about their relationship was just they could be running together while focusing on different things. They could be at each other's side in an instant, not have to worry about the whole breakfast in bed part, and just keep going on with their badass lives. They didn't have to change either of their lifestyles, but when they met up, they could just be together and find comfort in that, which is sweet. However, while yes, this is good, it did work for them, it's clear that she never outgrew those tendencies for tunnel vision. Hence when she shows up to the Heart of the Wild despite being told that,
something dirty?
okay, frankly, I kind of blame Witch Wizard on this. You gotta have a more foreboding warning ready in case like something like this happened. But yes, Huntress Wizard hurt the tree for her man, which is actually a dear mother of God. Also, should probably touch on the fact that Finn's hands are officially rated E for everyone, and he did in fact choke out a woman who was a bear, who also has the least original wizard name in Adventure Time.
Which wizard?
So shocking no one who didn't think it was sus for a bear to be green and wearing a mask, the creature Finn fought in season 1 was a wizard. And by the beauty of having the same color palettes, yes, she was connected to Huntress Wizard. We weren't just all making massive assumptions, as this is Witch Wizard, and they are kind of like the first among equals for the green wizards. They guard the sacred tree, while the rest go to be bums and do whatever these not druids do. Quick to chastise HW for being the biggest flick of them all, they end up having a pretty cool wizard fight. Now I'd put money on this fight being partially inspired by The Sword in the Stone, where we do see two magic users have a battle that involves constantly shifting into different animals to gain an advantage, but where that movie had a horny squirrel, here we just got a caked up frog, and HW downplaying her label with Finn.
He needs it. My friend.
Now to be honest, I have been laughing / rolling my eyes at all the people think that Fionna and Cake might actually have HW leave Finn for Fionna cause it's popular fan art material, or some other motivation for this self-induced panic attack. But while she does say Finn is her ... friend to this co-worker, it's clear that HW's love for Finn is her driving motivation this season. She broke the rules of her cult, risked a life and limb to save him, with her near-death vision being a memory or okay, it's just their spirit world cuddling between the two. While they may be on and off again, it's clear that it's more due to their lifestyles than their lack of interest. Even when HW is reduced to quite literally nothing, she is still fighting to go and save him. It's insane how I'm not exaggerating about that nothing part. Like, this is the wildest sequence in the entire episode, though how we got here is pretty close, because the Heart of the Wild is a massive eldritch abomination, composed of flesh-like bark or flesh-like trees, that by the look of that chain was imprisoned in the forest. This could be a sign that the green wizards were keeping it imprisoned just to use as a power source, but if I had to put money on like what this thing is, or at least what it might be referencing, I'd say it's probably related to Nidhogg and Yggdrasil, which in Norse mythology was an imprisoned dragon-like creature. They didn't have real dragons back then, as we would understand it, but it existed. It was said to gnaw on the roots of the world tree, was imprisoned, which was said to connect all of the many planes of existence. This sounds basically exactly where Huntress Wizard ended up, meaning the heart could be some multiversal threat, or it could just be one of those bulbs grown by the wizards. Maybe it's just like a piece of magic, maybe it's the bulb or portal itself, but the greens found it, gave it their flesh in order to like create a connection, so that they could use it. Adventure Time does have a history with imprisoned creatures and all that, so get ready for this one to become a squirrel. This could also be another reference to a different piece of Norse mythology, which is Ymir, which I'm not about to go into as I'm not deep cut. But speaking of cutting, HW stabbed it, and it woke up, panicked, cutting off all the green wizards from their power, and they lost their masks. Which does open a question about Spirit Warrior Guy, as he's the only one who doesn't have one. But forget about that, HW just got stabbed and cue the vision of Finn talking about how he thinks he's gonna die soon, and I'm gonna be honest, my mind immediately jumped to him talking about how he longed to see Jake again, because my mind is fucked up. But really, the less tragic answer is that he's dying from the poison. But to keep giving credit where it's due, their little convo is a nice example of why they've always been great as this strange endgame couple. As when he's talking about how he's gonna die, she's just making a joke about how he might forget her, only to get that sweet, sweet
Never.
It's a little heartwarming, you know, to see these two battle-hardened adventurers just relax and be at peace around each other. But then you see those butterflies, which may or may not be Finn's true soul, and it means he might be ascending. So naturally she wakes up and finds herself decapitated. Like, she might actually be a plant person at this point, as that would explain how she was able to regrow a hand. But all of her pieces are then turned into seeds. Because it's adventure time. Of course they do. And then they're all sent off across the multiverse. We see Farm World, Baby World, New Space, and Ocean Worlds, and there's probably a few others, including Vampire World. Yeah. Stop those comments, I saw the fool too. But based on how most of these seem to be places that Fionna visited last season, and we've seen that she's still feeling some massive guilt over how a lot of that shit went down, including, I need to correct myself here, that wasn't Choose Goose in the Dream, that was this random bird thing in the Winter King's world. Seems like a safe bet that we'll be revisiting all these dimensions, or we're gonna see a bunch of fully grown Huntress Wizards. Because why not make the random animal hallucinations foreshadowing? All said and done though, HW is fucked. She is just a spirit at this point. She needs to save Finn by finding that blood sap stuff, but this girl has no idea what the rules of this place are. We don't. Just bunch of other dimensions. This is the in-between, it seems like. And there's a random disembodied voice talking to her.
You wish to leave this place, little homie?
No idea who that is. But I do wonder if this blood like rain is actually just seeds, given how they keep converting physical matter into more of that. All this randomness though, it does make the opening make a lot more sense now. She's coming out of the flower because she has to regrow her entire body. But yet again, her ability to focus, strike a hangman's pose, allows her to hear Simon's voice, and that's how she goes to Fiona's world, where the two will meet up and kick off a grand adventure to save Finn and HW's long awaited character development. So yeah, this episode is also about Fionna.
We just gotta come back bigger and crazier than ever!
Long story short, they just try to say F it and steal back Gary's stuff. This whole thing's very poorly planned out, and of course Gary would be the lookout. This little escapade immediately solves one of the things that just confused me the most by my initial reaction to episode 1, which is why the fuck don't they have Cake just knock all these humans out? She's a magic goddamn cat. She can take them. With us actually getting a reason for why she can't just make Fiona's problems go away with a truck-sized haymaker. As like all JRPGs, somehow, they've ended up fighting a god.
Shoot, my glasses.
For those who don't remember, this is
Hierosyphon?
one of the higher beings that the Scarab had imprisoned for not staying in their lane and daring to have smaller dreams of being cafe related. Sadly got fired from his new job we saw in the epilogue, so now he's forced to work for Queenie, who is paying him as a security guard, and he can absolutely take Cake. And he also proves that while you may have magic, you can't escape bills. So after failing to deal with their problems as thieves, they instead decide to deal with things like adults, by giving up and drinking. Where at the bar, in a nice little nod to Simon, Fionna is actually drinking Simon's exact drink from last season. But ignoring that, and Marshall and Gumball are officially moving in together, which is cute. But Fionna just tried to shoot a god with a tank.
You're toast, sucker!
Yeah, okay.
Where they realize that they probably shouldn't, and they should instead just try to buy the place out. Which, to play devil's advocate, I think the tank might have been a safer bet, as these people are clearly broke. This is the thing that had me laughing when they all start acting like they can solve their problems with money, as they don't have any. Fionna doesn't seem to have a job right now, Marshall is a street performer, and Gary was asking for loans to make his own place last season. They do not have buying property money. Hell, I don't even think they have empty lot money. The only thing they have right now in massive quantities is Fiona's crushing guilt.
But if you don't pull it together, everyone's gonna leave you.
Fiona's fear is something that I really like about her character. It sets her apart from Finn in that he has lived this hero adventurer life. He believes that he can handle most anything, meanwhile Fionna is just a person. She worries about her life, her place in the world, and if her friends will get hurt on her account. This fear is one of the main things that left her worried about bringing back the magic and embracing the chaos of change. Even though she saved the world, Fionna still has that sense that she is floundering, because she is. But more importantly, she is crippling herself by her concern that she is disappointing those around her, blaming herself for things in and outside of her control, with her then passing on these lessons to baby Finn, cementing how she's both grown as a person, but still very naive. And also, again, trauma dumping on a child, saying that you need to lock in and take control of your life, be responsible, and if you don't, all your friends might leave you. Now on one hand, you almost understand this input, as she's the one who suggested to Gary that they should set up their shop here. That doesn't mean she has to figure out everything on her own. Her relationship to her friends is not transactional. And just like how she saved the world, she doesn't really owe these people anything. She doesn't have to live up to their standards to keep feeling good about herself. And I love that she still has this struggle. That sense of floundering after you become an adult, very common, even for someone like her who just saved the world. But she's not really giving herself the space to do it. However, I think the most heartbreaking line of this episode might just be this one.
Look, no one taught you anything, and that's not your fault.
On one level, that is so true. No one feels fully ready to be an adult, and all the little things that come along with it, like taxes, you're just suddenly expected to figure it out. But the thing that makes this line actually heartbreaking to me is that she's right. No one did teach her anything, as she was created, not actually born and raised. Prismo created this world to be his own AU, but when Simon lost his magic, all the people in it suddenly became normal and mundane, never realizing what they lost, just waking up a world that they remember but have never actually lived in. They probably just poofed into this existence with jobs, homes, and pre-established relationships that, if you want to be conspiratorial about, they don't remember, as Prismo didn't write all the backstory for every character. He wrote about Marshall and his relationship with his mom, as Marceline's daddy issues are just a huge part of her character. For Gary and Fiona, we've never heard about their parents, so it's safe to assume that they might not exist. It's kind of like Gummy Goo and Digital Circus, where there are supposed to be these other people that technically should exist for this world to work, but they don't, as they weren't necessary for Prismo's story, so they aren't actually present. Gary can't actually remember how long Fiona and him have been friends, because they technically, to this world, always have. With this sudden existence making Fiona's status as the perpetual flounder brilliant, as unlike Gary or Marshall, she doesn't have an assigned role that she can just fall into. PB's connection to candy and creating candy people made Gary being a baker the perfect role for him, but Fiona, her parallel was Finn, who was just an adventurer. He spent his life fluttering from one thing to the next, risking his life and getting cool scars. Fiona, though, is a normal girl in a normal world who wasn't graced with a default career, hence why she's basically worked at every business in the city, as Finn has worked for every person at OO at some point or the other. She didn't come into this world with any innate skills or purpose. Her parents may or may not exist, but since Finn's weren't in his life, they probably weren't in hers. Making it so that when she says no one taught her anything, she's right. That's actually 100% true. She basically just popped into existence when she was 18 and has been trying to figure it out ever since. There was no mentor or parental figure to help her give her guidance, hence why her and Simon get along so well. He can offer her some wisdom she has been sorely lacking, and she can tell him basically anything after all their trauma bonding. This relationship is adorable. Fiona is eventually going to figure it all out, and I, for one, am so invested in seeing it. Though, to be out of pocket, people need to stop making every interaction Simon has with women about him. This was another really good episode. The setup is officially done. We now have a pretty good idea of where the story's gonna go. Shit is locked and loaded to send Fiona and HW on some wild adventures and get in some self-discovery while they're at it. I am going to be seated, and I'm hoping that Discovery's god-awful marketing won't hurt this season, as it's been wild to see how little chatter there's been. But low views are not gonna stop me, as I just love talking about this show, as I'm obsessed.